I want to say some things about the Riyadh Comedy Festival, which I know is a story that's been going on for a little while, but people are still talking about it. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And that's good for me because I just figured out what I want to say about it that might be halfway interesting and worth sharing with you. And it's basically this. It's not a groundbreaking insight, but have you noticed how many of the comedians who have gone or have agreed to go and perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival are already millionaires? The Louis C.K.'s, the Bill Burrs, the Aziz Ansari's, those folks, right? Those the top shelf, the A-level talent, right? The headliners. They're already rich. So like, how much money do you need? You've already got more money than you need for the rest of your life. You're already as rich as you're ever going to need to be. So what is the upside to saying, sure, I'll take some more money to go participate in what is basically part of a broad public relations effort from the Saudi government to convince everybody that actually, despite the long history of documented horrific human rights abuses, they're not that bad. They deserve to be normalized and welcomed into the fraternity of nations. And I mean, they're not going to change anything. They're still going to kill journalists and persecute minorities. And they're not going to change anything. They're still going to be basically a theocratic dictatorship, a monarchy. They're not going to change any of that. But, they'll have some really cool sporting events and a comedy festival with talent from all over the world. And they're just going to throw money at everybody. So come on, give us a break, right? And you're a comedian and you're already a millionaire and you say, sure, okay, because apparently there's no such thing as enough money. If you are in a position where the money that you were being offered to go perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival or to do some other Saudi Arabian event as a part of this, like I said, this public relations effort that the Saudi government has been carrying on for the last 10 years or so to try and sort of launder their reputation. If the amount of money that they offer you is going to be a life-changing amount of money for you, if you're not a millionaire, if your career is still kind of on the climb, or maybe not, maybe you're afraid that you have reached a plateau and you need to get paid however you can, whenever you can. I'm not saying that makes it right, because I don't think it does, but I get it. I understand it. I don't necessarily condemn you for it. If it's going to be a life-changing amount of money, okay, who am I to judge? I can't honestly say I would do something different in that position. I'd like to think so. I'd like to think, no, I'd stand on my integrity. I'd stand on my ethics. I would refuse the money. If it was going to be a life-changing amount of money, I don't know. I might make that calculation. I might say, yeah, this is going to be a kick in the teeth to my conscience. This is going to make it a little more difficult for me to look at myself in the mirror. I might lose some self-respect. But that sure is a lot of money. That sure is going to change my life from here on out. I can't tell you for certain that I would say no to that. And if some of these comedians were in that position and it was a life-changing amount of money, hey. I don't think it was a life-changing amount of money for Louis C.K. I don't think it was a life-changing amount of money for Bill Burr. Not only do they have quite a bit in the bank already, I would guess, but also they're incredibly popular touring comedians, like even Louis C.K., who hasn't really been re-welcomed into the mainstream since all of that business about, showing his dick to people without their consent and then apologizing for it and saying, I'm going to go away now. And then he went away for like less than a year and just came back and tried to pretend that it never happened, right? That thing. Even with all of that, he's still, he lost his TV show. He lost a lot of his movie deals, but he's still a really successful touring comedian. He's still going and playing to packed venues all over the country, all over the world. He's still releasing albums that are winning fucking awards. So it's not like he needs the money. Bill Burr, at least up until this point, was like everybody's favorite comedian. And rightfully so. I love Bill Burr. He's great. He's brilliant. He's hilarious. And he's become very, very successful. So I'm pretty sure the Riyadh Comedy Festival money, that payday was not going to be life-changing for him either. He could have said no, and it would not have hurt him at all. And he would not have had to justify that to himself or to his loved ones. He wouldn't have had to say, sorry, kids, you can't go to college. I'm not playing the Riyadh Comedy Festival. That wasn't the situation. Is it because we have been taught, we have been inculcated for generations upon generations in this country to believe that you have to take the money, even if you don't need it? That it's not enough to be successful. You have to be as successful as you can possibly be. That it's not enough to be rich. Being rich is not the goal. The goal is to be as rich as you fucking can be. In all circumstances, no matter what. Even if you don't need the money, and even if the person offering you the money is demanding that you make a serious moral compromise in order to get the money, you have to take the money. That's what generation after generation of being taught that we must be guided by the profit motive above all else has done to us. Even rich people, in fact, it seems like especially rich people, all they care about is money. Look at someone like Elon Musk, the richest motherfucker on the planet. Or actually, I think technically now he's no longer the richest motherfucker on the planet because he leaned too hard into the motherfucker part of that, and people were like, nah. And a lot of his fortune is on paper, as opposed to, like concrete assets. So I don't think he is technically the richest person in the world anymore, but he's still pretty high on the fucking list. He's a hundreds of billionaire, right? What does he need the money for? Why is he still trying to make as much money as he possibly can? Why doesn't he just turn his companies over to other people and take what he's got, his titanic personal wealth, that he could not spend all of it in the time he has left on this earth if he tried? Why doesn't he just take that and go retire somewhere? I'll tell you, that's what I would do. That's exactly what I would do. If I had a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of the wealth that Elon Musk has, or Jeff Bezos has, or any of these assholes. If I was a millionaire, let alone a billionaire, I'm not saying you'd never see my ass again, because I do like making YouTube videos. I'm sure I would still be doing this, but you'd see me a lot less often. Right? Like, I would not be out here hustling and making videos about shit as often as I am. I would be like, oh, hey, here's an idea for a video. I'll just do this. I don't need to, because I'm fucking rich. And I can just relax and retire. Like, that's what I would do. But it seems like the richer you get, the richer you want to get. And there's no end to it. You don't get to a point where you're like, actually, I have enough money. That apparently doesn't exist for some people, and I don't get it, but I do kind of understand it, because that's what we have been taught. When a baseball player's contract comes up and they're fielding offers, from other teams, and frequently, if this is a player that has been playing with their current team for a long time and they've kind of become an institution and they love the organization and they love the hometown, and, they'll usually say like, oh man, I've had such a great time playing here for the last 5 years, 7 years, whatever. I love this city. I love this community so much. Gosh, I hope I can stay. What's stopping you? Well, I would like to keep playing for Pittsburgh, but man, Los Angeles, their offer's just so much better. Okay, but we're talking about like tens of millions of dollars either way. Like, I'm pretty sure the money that Pittsburgh is offering you is still going to be enough that, like, I mean, you're probably already set for life as it is. But this is definitely going to set you for life. Like, it's not going to change. Yeah, they're going to pay you a lot more in Los Angeles, but it's not really going to affect your life in any way. Like, you're not going to have to give anything up by staying in Pittsburgh, if that's what you want. And yet it's treated as though, like, well, I have no choice. You know, I have to take the biggest offer, even if I'd rather not, even if I'd rather stay here. I have to. I have no choice. That's how it's framed. That's probably how it's presented to the player, to be honest. I'm sure their agent is like, you've got to take the biggest offer, because their agent is also like, I need to get as much money as possible, and there's no such thing as too rich. And listen, I have no problem with athletes making as much money as they possibly can. Athletes are the reason why sports are popular. Baseball players, football players, even though I fucking loathe football, hockey players, basketball players, they're the reason people buy tickets. They're the reason people buy t-shirts and jerseys and other kinds of merch. They are what generates the revenue. So they should share in that revenue, right? They should be paid tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, if that's the level of money that they're making for the owners. I have no problem with them making as much fucking money as they possibly can. They deserve it, right? Because they generate that. But let's not act like you're taking food out of your baby's mouth. If you'd really love to stay in the small market for a few $1 million a year, but you just can't accept that because the large market is offering you tens of millions of dollars a year. Even if that's a lot more money than that, that is still more than you will ever need to live comfortably for the rest of your life, and also pass down to your children and grandchildren so they can all live comfortably for the rest of their lives too. But you can't do that. You got to take the most money. You've got to take the most money. And we see this now being translated into the way that companies treat their customers as well. You can't just find a fair price for a product and charge that price for people, especially if you're an entertainment company. If you're, I speak specifically as a professional wrestling fan, right? Professional wrestling, especially WWE. Oh, speaking of people who take money from Saudi Arabia, WWE has gotten into this habit lately where if they can wring as much money out of their audience as they possibly can, that's what they're going to do. If people will pay thousands of dollars for ringside seats, or for ringside seats plus a VIP experience, if people will pay it, that's what they'll charge. Fuck them. It doesn't matter that that prices out most fans who would want to go to live events. They don't care. They just want as much money as possible. And if they can wring it out of you, that's what they'll do. Because that's what matters. It's not just the profit motive, it's the maximum profit motive. And I'm sorry, but even if you are not an avowed anti-capitalist, surely you recognize how destructive and corrosive that is to a culture, to a society, to the soul of a people. When you've convinced not everyone, but quite a few people that they have to take the money, no matter what. A lot of people who were booked for the Riyadh Comedy Festival, they felt that way. They said, well, I've got to take the money, even if they didn't need it. Because the people offering them those deals, offering them those paydays, all they told them was how much money they were going to get. They didn't mention how much it was going to cost.